We kissed. Shanks and Buggy had an intense moment.
How could you not? Have you seen Shanks?
Have you seen Buggy?
This is the intro song to the podcast King of the What Now. Join us as we go on a journey, going to talk about pirates, battle and adventure. We think we're pretty funny, we hope you will too. Luffy, he's gotta be the king of something. We weren't really listening, sorry about that. Hopefully he'll achieve his dreams, yeah.
Hello, fellow Grand Line adventurers. We're here for episode 7 of King of the What Now. As always, there's Joel and his co-host Curtis.
Hey, I got out of my chains!
That's wonderful. That's unexpected, but I do have some backups. I have this electric taser here, so you better stay in your seat, mister.
Okay.
Now, this is a very spectacular episode. It's a big milestone for us. Do you know what today is?
What's today?
Today is the day when you finish the first disc of One Piece in DVD format.
What's a disc?
Oh, yes. I forgot we're trying to future-proof ourselves. A disc is basically like a Gorblack back before we had data that could be expressed in 6 dimensions, obviously.
You see, kids, a disc is kind of like a VHS, but better. And if you don't know what a VHS is, ask your great-grandparents.
Fantastic. All right, we just finished episode 7, which is called Epic Showdown, Zoro versus Acrobat Kabaji, or something like that. I don't actually have the episode title. I really need to start writing these down, but I don't. I refuse.
We're very organized.
Yes. And as always, we come to the first question I always ask. Curtis, can you succinctly summarize this episode?
Yes, so we have Zoro fighting a man on a unicycle.
Yes.
Doing so in a very badass way. Defeating the man on the unicycle because, I mean, he's on a unicycle.
Sure.
Nami joins and then immediately leaves the crew.
Yeah.
I believe she joined the... Well, she didn't join. She walked with the crew somewhere.
She high-fived. There was skin-on-skin high-five hand action.
She broke a high five?
She did.
Anyway, she left, and she went and stole some jewelry and the treasure from the buggy pirate.
I was about to say, the technical word is treasure?
Yeah, I couldn't remember for a second there. You know, a show about pirates. Some important things about pirates. I can't remember. What do they move around on? Those little
dogs.
Those dogs?
Giant dogs, yeah, and they paddle from one island to another.
It's just Pokemon. We're not watching Pokemon.
No, but we should talk about a crossover between this show and Pokemon.
Anyways, this episode summarized.
Yes.
So
unicycle battle, Nami steals some treasure.
Yes. And then, oh yeah, so now Zoro is taking a nap because, you know, he just fought hard. And now we just got Luffy and Buggy left, and they're duking it out. And then Buggy messed with Luffy's hat.
Absolutely.
The one that Shanks gave him.
And as we find out in this episode, there might actually be a connection between Shanks and Buggy, although the episode ends with a cliffhanger about Buggy saying, "I'll tell you how I know Shanks," and then, "to be continued."
Yeah, now we're just left to speculate.
Absolutely. Now, I think something else I'm going to try to introduce to this show is if there's something from the episode that I thought was interesting that's missing from your summary, I'll add it really quick to the end. But overall, you summarized this episode very well.
Thank you.
I do think that if you haven't seen Zoro versus the acrobat on a unicycle, you should go back and watch that episode. It's pretty great. And the only thing I would say you missed is that Luffy takes out the mayor of the town being held hostage. And he's like, "You guys are outsiders. I'll handle this." And Luffy goes, "Nope," and slams him into the wall. It's pretty great. Well, I wouldn't say great. It's funny for sure.
Yeah. It was for his own good, though.
Exactly. As Zoro pointed out, if he had actually fought, he would have been defeated. All right, on to the next question. What do you think of this episode?
I liked this episode. There was more fighting. There wasn't enough fighting in some of the early episodes, especially the flashback episode.
Absolutely.
Oh, actually, no, there was fighting in the flashback episode. I take that back.
It's always good to have a little bit of action, but I think that later in the series you're going to actually get more flashbacks and more characterization, and when I was younger, I would have thought, just give me more punching. But the punching is informed by the characters' decisions in their past, so while sometimes you can spend too long in flashback lands, most of the time it adds to the emotion of One Piece, which is pretty great.
I think the issue right now is the character development I'm getting is character development I already knew.
Oh, certainly, yes.
So it's kind of like going through the tutorial of a game that you've already started once before in the past, so I'm kind of like, meh, I just want to get to the good stuff.
I'm sorry, did you mean Pokemon, where even in the 7th generation you have a mandatory tutorial on how to catch a Pokemon, even if you've been playing for 20 years?
Well, I mean, what do I do? Do I go up and just punch it? And
Yeah,
then,
absolutely.
grab it and put it in a bag and take it home with me?
Exactly. So that's just about it for the summary and your thoughts. What do you think is going to happen next?
Well, I hope Buggy answers the question of how does he know Shanks and what information does he have about Shanks? Because if not, then that was a really mean cliffhanger.
Absolutely. Do you think that Buggy has read Shanks's diary?
Probably.
Okay.
I mean, it's a pirate ship. It's pretty small. It's not a lot of places to hide a diary. People are going to read that.
Absolutely. Okay, so we find out that Buggy and Shanks are pirates in training together at the same time. But what is a pirate in training? Like, when we were watching the episode, I said, you're either stealing from people or you're not. Like, can you be legally tried as a pirate in training? Is your sentence more lenient in that situation? Do you have to pass a registration test or something?
Well, Your Honor, I'm sorry, but my client here he's just a pirate in training. He didn't know no better. Oh, okay, sorry.
What I'm imagining when they say pirate in training, because I've been on such a My Hero Academia kick lately, is I'm imagining you have to train under different pirates. And if you train under a bad pirate, not bad as in a bad pirate, not a bad guy pirate, but a pirate who's not good at their job, you are out of luck because you will never be a good pirate. You don't have a good mentor.
Yeah, it's like getting a really crappy internship. Like, everybody else got internships at, like, Amazon.
Sure, Microsoft or something like that.
And you went to McDonald's. Like, you didn't even know they offered internships, but you ended up there anyway.
You went to Mom and Pa's grocery where you just kind of pumped gas at a gas station.
Yeah.
And you didn't learn any life skills from it.
You learned how to pump gas. But
It's
I
true.
mean, that's starting to become rarer and rarer.
Now, you speculated in the episode that was very Shanks heavy. That was 2 or 3 episodes back. I can't remember exactly the number. But you thought that Shanks was a good pirate, that he's pretty badass.
Okay, so you mean good, like good at being a pirate?
Correct. From now on, when I say good and bad, I'm probably not referring to good or evil. I mean good at what they do. So you suspect Shanks is a strong pirate, more or less.
I believe so, yeah.
But if he and Buggy train under the same pirate mentor, and one of them is Buggy and one of them is Shanks, do you think that's a bad mentor figure?
I mean, Buggy could just be a screw-up.
He absolutely could.
I'm sure there are some people who, study under Stephen Hawking who are flipping burgers down at McDonald's.
That's certainly possible.
They're working with that intern.
Now, people out there, if you work at McDonald's, we don't mean to disparage you.
Oh, yeah, definitely not. I worked at McDonald's.
Exactly.
But, I mean, I also went home covered in grease every day, and it was not the most pleasant experience.
Right. Different jobs have different drawbacks, and there's a lot of drawbacks associated with the typical starting job, fast food, and that sort of thing.
Do what you need to make money and work hard out there, folks.
All right. Now we're on to the next question. We are just blowing through these today. Question number 4. Who is MVP of this episode?
So I don't think I can give an MVP just because of the number of fights we had. We had 2, and they were kind of... you know what? I guess Zoro's was a little bit better. I feel bad giving Zoro the MVP every time.
Okay.
But in this case, Zoro did purposely get stabbed so that he could give his opponent a more even playing field. And then he beat him up.
Absolutely. That is something that we both forgot to mention during our summaries. Zoro, at the beginning of this fight, gets hit a couple of times in the wound he had already received from Buggy a couple of episodes ago, and eventually he just goes, "Hey, you want to attack my wound? Here's my wound." And he gets stabbed and it freaks Kabaji out, and Zoro's just like, "Aw, yeah, intimidation tactic." That was a pretty great moment, and I would have to say he's pretty good. He doesn't completely mess up his battle, but I would say none of it is as, badass as that moment with Zoro.
Yeah. Though Luffy did show the ability to adapt and learn in this fight, because initially he was having a hard time hitting
Buggy.
I don't know if that was this fight or the previous one.
That was this one. They didn't fight last time, because remember, Nami literally tied him up and delivered him?
That's right. And that was because Buggy keeps detaching body parts, right?
Yes.
But this time, Buggy went to detach the body part that he thought was going to get hit, and instead, Luffy hit him somewhere else.
Luffy hit him it was either the stomach or the balls. I was watching the episode, and I thought I distinctly remember it being Buggy's jewels, if you'll excuse the pun. But I think they drew it in such a way that you couldn't tell if it was the stomach or groin region because they wanted to be more kid-friendly, but he definitely went for the more sensitive area.
He went for the flashy area.
He went for Buggy's flashy area. Absolutely. Yes. Now, we got the demonstration of a new ability of Luffy's. I think previously we've seen him use Rocket when he launches himself, and Pistol, which is his basic punch. But in this episode, at the very beginning, Luffy purposefully insults Buggy's nose so that he would shoot one of his Buggy balls. Haha, I said balls again. And then Luffy inflated himself and launched it back. It was called the Gum Gum Balloon.
The most dangerous of all the items.
Yeah, of course. You have the rocket, you have the pistol, and then you have the secret forbidden technique.
The
balloon.
Or the loon.
Absolutely. Okay, so we have the introduction of a new character, and I did technically say I wouldn't ask who's best boy and who's best girl until the end of an arc, but we're kind of coming up on the end of the arc. Spoilers! Spoiler alert. I'm sorry. Between Kabaji, the acrobat unicyclist swordsman, man, he has a lot of titles, and the mayor, who would you say, out of those two, who gets best boy?
Oh. I'm not a huge fan of unicycles.
Okay, so he gets disqualified simply because of his mode of transport. Isn't that a little... I wouldn't say racist, but isn't that a little discriminatory of you?
I guess so. But what about his hair? I mean...
It is rather strange.
Yeah, I don't know. I like the mayor better.
Okay, yeah, the mayor is certainly...
He's just a nicer person.
Yeah, I would assume that the non-pirate member of the two would be nicer. Luffy and his crew are an obvious exception because they're the good guys, even though they're the bad guys in the eye of the law. But most villain pirates are pretty scummy. And in fact, we had a moment where after Luffy bounced the buggy ball back at Buggy's crew, Buggy used 2 no-name soldiers to block the attack so he wouldn't get hurt. And Kabaji actually used Richie the Lion in order to block the explosion, so now you know they're the bad guys for real.
I missed that. He used a lion?
Yeah, he used
Oh, yeah,
the
no,
lion.
the mayor definitely gets it.
Yeah, the mayor gets the best boy award because he did not use an animal to shield himself from the attack between 2 rival pirates.
I mean, you know, Buggy uses a couple people, whatever. But a lion? Oh, that's where I draw the line. In. Lion.
Wow, that was... I'm used to very bad puns, but that might be the worst I've ever heard.
It was... I caught it too late, so it didn't even end up being a pun.
Okay.
It was line in.
All right, so the other question I like to ask, did any of this part seem like foreshadowing for the future, or is there anything you think will come back in a later arc or be important?
I don't think so. I didn't see any major foreshadowing.
No, it was mostly just a punch-out.
Yeah, and then the cliffhanger at the end, which I'm not going to count as foreshadowing, because it's literally...
It's just...
We're about to tell you in the next episode. This is where the plot's going.
Yeah, I don't mean what will happen next immediately. I mean, in 100 episodes, will they... I don't know. Will Buggy mention an island in this episode, and later down the line, they'll land there, and they'll realize that's the same one from his description?
Yeah.
Then, next question. Do you think that this episode was filler?
No.
That's absolutely true. It was not filler. Kabaji is a real character, and the relationship between Buggy and Shanks does actually exist.
Yes, I got it right. Though, I mean, I could see the argument with an acrobat on a unicycle with a sword and some tops being filler. But I was right.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't think that... I'm going to spoil this for you. I don't think there's ever been a group of villains that has filler members, but the group itself is... If a group shows up, the group itself as a whole is either made up, not in the manga, or they're all from the manga. You're not going to get, like, Captain Buggy's real, but his pet tarantula is from the filler episodes. That's just about that. There honestly wasn't much in this episode outside the fighting, and I don't know how we can add much commentary to that. Oh, how did you like the battle between 2 devil fruits, by the way?
I mean, it's interesting because there's a little bit more like, how do their abilities interact with each other? Though, admittedly, Luffy's is mostly straightforward at this point.
Sure.
That's mostly he kind of just contorts his body in different ways, right? Mm-hmm. But trying to figure out how he deals with fighting Buggy is an interesting problem. I think it'll be more interesting down the road as we get stranger and stranger abilities.
Okay.
And seeing how different matchups work out.
Ooh, I forgot to mention this earlier, but there's actually only 2 devil fruits in all of One Piece. This is the only time you get to see 2 people trying to measure each other up in this way.
Oh, well, this is a lame anime then, man.
Yeah, what you actually need is devil fruits out the wazoo is what you actually need. And you need something really crazy, like a devil fruit that has eaten another devil fruit.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be a devil fruit. Devil fruit.
Yeah, the devil fruit. Yeah, that makes sense. So I know you already predicted we'll learn more about Shanks and Buggy next episode, but did you see anything in this episode that gave you insights into how Luffy's going to win, if he even does?
No, I don't think so. I'm sure there's something in there, but it's probably just going to be a matter of him punching him, like, really good.
Absolutely. I think, in this case, the trick isn't... how do I say this? It's not like Buggy is negating the damage he's receiving. When he separates his head and you punch him in the stomach, or perhaps the jewels, it hurts. And when he attaches or detaches his hand and Luffy catches it, it hurts. So it's not a matter of how do you deal more damage, it's how do you land a blow on the moving parts. If Luffy were facing an enemy in iron armor or steel armor or something like that, he would probably pretty easily be able to land a punch, but the difficulty would be doing enough damage to kind of break that armor. Buggy doesn't really have armor, but he's moving around a lot, so it's a different situation.
Yeah, exactly.
That about does it for me. Curtis, do you have any final thoughts? I think I already asked you, but I like to ask just to make sure, cover my bases. Rather ask twice than not at all.
No, I think that basically sums it up.
So anyways, that about wraps it up for today, and now that Curtis has escaped, the rules have changed. The hunter has become the hunted. Hopefully I'll survive until next episode. Thank you everyone, and keep your dreams real, or whatever our catchphrase ends up being. We'll probably come up with something. All right, folks, we've reached the end of this episode for today. It's sad to see you go, but fortunately we'll be here next week unless we get hit by a meteor. In the meantime, you can follow us on all sorts of different social media. We have Gmail, Patreon, Tumblr, all of those are King of the What Pod, so patreon.com/kingofthewhatpod, kingofthewhatpod@gmail.com, kingofthewhatpod.tumblr.com. That's all great. If you want to follow us on Twitter, that name's a little different. They restrict the length of your handles. So you can follow us on Twitter at Kotwin_pod. That's KOTWN_pod. Just take the name of the podcast and abbreviate it.
Also, please take a moment to rate and review our podcast on whatever platform you're using to listen. That can be iTunes, Spotify, or whatever. Not only will this help others find the podcast, but your constructive feedback will help us improve the show as we go. We hope to grow and improve just like the Straw Hat Crew.
Thanks again for listening in. Be sure to check the feed next week for the latest episode of King of the What Now. Until then, follow your dreams and protect your treasure.
Remember, that doesn't need to be literal treasure.